That's right. We're back here, Love of the Star, with the Super Bowl champion Brian Broaddus and one of my co-hosts on the G-Bag Nation, 2 to 7 on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. I'm Eric Chiafalo, and it is great to have you in as the countdown to Oxnard continues. Just a few short days away, Broaddus, and you will be out there on the tennis courts, and you will be soaking it all in. What you fly out on the 21st, right? And camp gets really cranked up on the 22nd.
Yeah, I'm to be honest with you, I wish I was flying out there this weekend and getting involved with everything starting off Monday, with the press conference. I know on 105.3 The Fan, we're gonna carry the annual, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and this year, Brian Schottenheimer press conference from the tennis courts, and so, yeah, I'll be there Monday night, be out there with the KNC Masterpiece, that week, and then I'll pick you guys up the following Sunday, and then we all join up and watch camp together. So, yeah, really excited about the opportunity to look at this team up close and personal.
Yeah, likewise, man. And how about this? 50 days away as we record right now on
Mhm.
Wednesday, July 16th, 50 days away from Cowboys Eagles kicking off the 2025 NFL season. Very, very exciting times. Looking forward to it in a big way. We got a great episode for you today. The mailbag will be on fire. And I do want to give you a friendly reminder that we do have a listener survey that you can take. And the link will be in the description of this podcast today. So you can click on that. And we really just want to get your feedback. We want to hear from you because we want really just to continuously improve the show. And we value our listeners and y'all's opinions. We just want to give you what you want. So it's a quick survey, and you will get 50% off the brand new Love of the Star merch that's going to be coming out here very, very soon. You're going to get 50% off the merch if you just simply participate in the survey. So if you have just a couple of seconds of time, click on that link here in the description, answer a couple of quick questions. Honest feedback is welcome, and then we can curate each episode to exactly what you as Love of the Star listeners really prefer to get from us here on this podcast. And again, you will get 50% off the Love of the Star merch that is about to be coming out, and it's going to be pretty awesome. I'm sure you'll be seeing Broaddus and myself out in Oxnard repping that thing, and we'll be flaunting it as we do episodes from Oxnard all week long. It's going to be a great time. We watch practice, and then boom, we give you the 411. So this is a fantastic time, and let's go ahead and dive into it here, Broaddus, because we got a couple of things to address.
Mhm.
One of which is the fact that these second round picks all across the league right now are not signing deals thanks to the Texans giving Higgins a fully guaranteed contract as a second rounder, which is not something that is customary. And now every other second round pick's going, whoa, if he got a fully guaranteed contract, I'm going to go ahead and need to get one as well. And so majority of the second round selections have not signed yet, including our very own Donovan Ezeraku. And so now that leads us to maybe day one at training camp. Micah Parsons, Donovan Ezeraku, your two stud edge rushers that we're very excited about not being in attendance. That does not make me very happy.
No, it shouldn't make you very happy, and, but, hey, the Texans did what they felt like they had to do to get the contract done, and so, yeah, the other teams are probably pretty disappointed in how that rolled out, but, here we are. I think it is a big story that likely that you will not have Micah Parsons and Donovan Ezeraku in attendance at training camp. I think it's something that Eric over our shows and even on the G Bag Nation 2 to 7 every day, we've talked about, the strength of this defense is really the edge rushers. There's been concern I know on your behalf of, man, they got to stop the run. They got to be better stopping the run. Don't worry about the pass, Brian. They'll figure it out. They can rush the passer, and I agree. But all of a sudden, you get a rookie player that's not part of the training camp practices. Even missing one practice is, to me, we've seen learning curves with Donovan. He knows how to rush the passer, but I'd like to see him not miss any days where he is working with, whether that's Fowler, whether it's Sam Williams, whether it's the one-on-one stuff. I'd like to see him, rush against Guyton. I'd like to see him have an opportunity to rush against Steele. I like to see him get to do some teamwork where he could get a feel for how to keep the outside shoulder free and play the run. These are all things that you, if there's a holdout, in his case, he's never been signed. This would be one of those times where you don't want a rookie guy missing any practices at all because we've seen this before, whether it's injury or something, unforeseen happens when these rookies miss practice. It's hard for them to catch up on things. And I just feel like though that with Micah, we kind of understand where Micah's situation is, and we understand what Micah can do. My biggest fear with Micah is, to be honest with you, is that, Eric, is that he holds out the entire time they get the contract done right before the season starts. And does he play opening day against Philadelphia? If you're sitting out the whole entire time and all of a sudden, then they say, okay, we've got a deal done. And then Micah has not practiced one day with the team. Are you going to roll him out there in week one against the Philadelphia Eagles? I don't know if they would, and I'm just bringing that up. If a guy doesn't practice the whole time, are you going to risk that, right off the jump? So I think it's imperative on a couple of fronts. These edge rushers, they need to get these contracts done. And so they could get a really good idea of what they have as a group going forward.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that would be pretty disappointing not to have Ezraku out there, and hopefully they can find a way to get him in. I know the Chargers have already started their training camp, and their second round pick Trey Harris. He missed like the first day, and then they went ahead and got it figured
Yeah.
out with him. So
Yeah.
you definitely don't want rookies missing any time. What would that do? I guess that would be we'd be getting a healthy helping of Dante Fowler and Sam
Yeah.
Williams. I guess maybe like, hey, more opportunities for Sam Williams off the injury, even though I don't know how much they want to
Yeah.
maybe limit him a little bit early on, just because you don't want to, go too crazy after an ACL. So it just, yeah, that's tough, man. That's going to be tough not having, especially for a rookie. Like you really want those guys out there, and he was awesome throughout the springtime, everybody raving about him and his work ethic and all those sorts of things. So, I mean, missing a day or two, probably not the end of the
Yeah.
world. But man, if this thing bleeds into missing the first week or extended time in training camp, dude,
Yeah.
that is not what you want.
No, not at all. And like I say, we've talked about this position, and now if you potentially have two guys, and then you astutely brought up Sam Williams. How much is Sam Williams? Now I need to go circle back and talk to people in the organization about, well, how much is Sam Williams going to? Is Sam Williams going to be limited, or is Sam Williams going to be full go? If Sam's not, now you're down basically three guys at the edge rushing spot. If that's the case, if there's Sam, so this group could start in training camp and look like a remarkably different group than what you and I envisioned and others when we were starting to break down this team getting ready for this training camp.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a nice way for guys like Tyler Guyton and Terrence Steele to ease into camp a little bit, not
Yeah.
having not having to
Not
deal
have to
with
deal
those
with
guys.
that. Yeah.
And that would probably be nice there for the offense, not having Micah wrecking shop and then Ezraku, who we know is going to be one heck of a pass rusher there. But yeah, just something to monitor here. And we know the Cowboys are just so slow on all these things, so
Mhm.
I don't envision them like really getting ahead of it in a huge way. Maybe. I mean, if you get the Ezraku deal done before camp, it's probably like the day before camp. Because we know how the Cowboys do things, and they are always a little bit late to the party, especially when it comes to the contracts. And you're seeing it right now around the league. Your guys like Garrett Wilson, contract in New York as a wide receiver. Sauce Gardner,
Sauce Gardner.
corner, he gets the contract. You have Trey Smith now agreeing to a deal as a guard for the Chiefs for big money. So Tyler Smith, money just went up. Maybe Deron Bland to some extent. Money just went up with Sauce Gardner getting a deal. And then Garrett Wilson, he gets in the mix there. So, and Garrett Wilson is a part of the same draft class as Tyler Smith, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't have
Yeah.
to wait until the last second. You're seeing it right there. And that was a great team friendly deal that the Jets get now because you still have 2 more years of this rookie deal. The money doesn't really start for a couple more years, and by
Right.
then, the receiver money will have gone up even more, and that's
Mhm.
gonna look like a total bargain for Garrett Wilson and the Jets. So,
Yeah.
when you think about Tyler Smith, Deron Bland, I don't think many of us imagine George Pickens getting a deal done here anyways, but
Yeah.
all those dollars just went up at those positions.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, and I'm always interested to ask, and this is the great thing about training camp when you can run into people and ask questions face to face and get their reaction. Um, the Cowboys doing? Sure. The agents doing? Absolutely. There's no reason. I mean, I anticipate probably Ezra. We'll see who signs around him. We'll see who signs those contracts around and how quickly they get those done. But I would anticipate Ezra will probably be the last one signed. I could be way wrong about that, but the Cowboys have kind of painted themselves into a corner when it comes to these contracts. Agents with high-end players have no reason to hurry to the table unless their guy just wants to get a deal done. And we always have to remember that these agents work for the player. The player doesn't work for the agent. So, if Bland wants to get a deal done, Smith wants to get a deal done. We saw what it did with uh, Oso Digizua. When you want to get a deal done, you can get it done. But I think the Cowboys are in that mode right now where agents are just going to say, "We'll wait you out. We're gonna, we're gonna carry this thing all the way up." That'd be terrible. Like I mentioned, it'd be terrible if they carry this thing all the way to the first game and then Micah Parsons is just not available to go play the Eagles. It's just to me that would be a terrible way to start the season if you're the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, so yeah, I am interested. I want to circle back on that because I think that's an interesting thought that you had. So if Micah doesn't get a deal done and misses basically all of training camp,
They're not
and
I
then
don't think they play him. I just don't. I don't know how they do that. I mean, Micah would want to try and do that, but go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump in there on you that, but I just feel like that they're for his own good, missing the entirety of training camp, I don't see that. I don't see them saying week 1, "Okay, here we go." I mean, he could talk about working out on the side and being, this, that, and the other, but it would be very similar to like if you had a player that was injured the whole time, and then trying to get him back. I don't think you'd want to risk that with Mike. I could be dead wrong about that, but I don't. I don't feel like that they would say, okay, well, week 1, if Micah were to sign the Monday before a Thursday game, I don't I don't see that being as something that he could play in week 1. I just don't.
wow, man, that would be crazy. One, especially if he gets the deal done. So now he's gotten the huge contract, and then he's going
And
to
you're
miss
yeah,
the first game just because he's
against
not in shape of
right,
sorts.
football shape and not in football shape. Yeah, and folks, I'm not trying to oversell this at all. I'm really not, but I just think this team is very protective of how they manage their players health wise. And if a player has not been practicing full time, I just don't see. And I'm not trying to be Chicken Little and the sky's falling here. I'm just being honest. If this thing goes throughout training camp well, there's going to be just some questions about Micah playing, and they'll say, "Well, does he play 1 or 2?" No, I mean you want Micah playing full time against the Philadelphia Eagles and getting after Hurts and Barkley and those guys on that Thursday night. But if you're all of a sudden showing up a couple of days before the game, I don't see that as being something that they could do. We'd probably see him the following week against the Giants. That would be my guess.
Man, that would be insane. So you had last year, you had CD Lamb missing training camp. He got his deal done on August 26th. So I guess that gave him a couple of weeks
Yeah,
before the season started.
yeah,
But and he played, but you could see the difference in him and Dak. Like things were just not the same. So even if
not the
Micah comes
same.
in and plays
Yeah.
from the jump, missing
New
training
scheme
camp
too. New
hurts.
scheme too. Yeah, new scheme, new coaches, I mean, we all understand, what Micah Parsons is kind of a plug and play player, but Micah is, like I said, he'll want to go out there and play, but for his own good, they have these ramp up periods to pads for a reason, and they get in these pads for a reason, to get ready to play to do the season. And if you're not doing those things, and I gotta say, folks, I'm not trying to sound the alarm here. I'm just saying, just be aware. This could be a possibility if this thing goes way through training camp. And you mentioned Lamb and all that. You're right. Right off the jump, it wasn't as clean as it needed to be. And this, but that, and that was Mike McCarthy and the scheme he's comfortable with. But here we are, and with a totally new coaching staff. I just also, Eric, I don't think in Brian Schottenheimer's first year that he doesn't want you and I every day watching practice and having to comment on Micah Parsons, like not practicing. Well, there's Micah Parsons, and we get the video of him walking on the field in sweats and standing over there and watching and all that. I mean, that's just not something that Brian Schottenheimer needs in his first year. If the front office really wants to help Brian Schottenheimer like they did going to get George Pickens, go get Micah Parsons done. Get that contract done so Micah feels good about it. You get him into the mix, and now off the rip, you're getting ready for the season. And it's not every day we're like, oh, more day 16, day 18, day 21. We Brian Schottenheimer and the team doesn't need that at all.
No, no, it doesn't benefit anybody. And if it happens this way, then yeah, I'm looking at the Cowboys like, come on, what do we
Yeah,
do?
no, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah.
They're the common theme here.
Mm.
Every team in the league is not going through this type of situation. It's not always on the player. The
Yeah,
Cowboys have a huge role in this. So I'm looking at them going, please, come on, get this thing done. It does matter. It does matter. You can say
it does.
OTAs and that kind of stuff doesn't really matter. Fine for a guy like Micah. But man, camp does matter. We saw it with
Camp
Zach
does matter.
Martin.
Yep.
We saw it with Zach Martin a couple years ago. Saw it with CD Lamb this past year. Get his
Yep.
butt into camp, please. All right, you're listening to the Love of the Star podcast. Love of the Star is an Odyssey podcast. You can find it on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Friendly reminder to our incredible listeners here on Love of the Star, we're running an audience survey to make sure that we are best serving you, the listener. So this is a great chance. You can give us feedback and help us learn more about you to make our show better for you. So you can complete the survey in the description of the podcast here, wherever it is that you're getting it. You can find it. Go ahead and click on it. It's a tiny url.com/LOT star. And just for completing that survey, you're going to get 50% off all merch that we are about to start cranking out here for Love of the Star. So we'll be repping it in Oxnard. You'll get a little peek at it. But just for doing a quick survey, answering some questions to make the show better for you, you will get 50% off all merch that we have at our store that is coming here very, very soon. So just wanted to remind you of that. We appreciate you so very much. We'll get to the Dean Julia mailbag here in a few minutes. But Broadus, I wanted to bring up a couple of things because now it's the time of the year where we have the positional rankings
Mhm.
from scouts and coaches and executives across the league, anonymously ranking players at each position. And we've seen some Cowboys make an appearance. I want to bring up the one here that is maybe most fascinating because I was surprised to see it. But our very own DeMarvion Overshown,
How about
ranked as
that?
a top 10 linebacker in the league. I think it's warranted. I totally get it. I wasn't sure that around the league he would get the type of respect that we all have for him here just because of the injury history and the sample size is still pretty small. But man, every time this guy has played, he's been lights out. He's totally awesome to watch. Explosive as all hell, flies around, makes plays everywhere, and he's just a true joy to watch. And the NFL's giving him a little tip of the cap here as a top 10 linebacker. You brought something up on our show in the G-Bag Nation the other day. I thought it was interesting. Who do you want back more for the defense? Trayvon Diggs or DeMarvion Overshown? I said Overshown just because I think he's a better player. You're probably a little bit better off at linebacker right now than you are at corner. And so I totally understand that. But I just think Overshown is a game-changing type of player in a way that Trayvon Diggs no longer is. So I'm like, dude, if you could give a clean bill of health right now today to one of those guys, give me Overshown because I just think he's a game breaker, and I want that back on our defense. So I don't know what your answer was to that though.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Overshown part of things. I do have a little more faith, I think, in the linebackers. I do think with Sanborn, I said this. I think if you could just get an Eric Kendricks type of a season from Murray, boy, that would go a long way into helping this defense. Uh, I understand the importance of Diggs, and I understand that what's going to happen at corner here with Ravel and all those guys trying to get back. Uh, but this is where all of a sudden this a list like this gave me some hope. There's times where I think these pro guys or scout guys or general managers or whatever put these lists together, and I don't think they always watch the film on who they're talking about. They might, they might have an idea like, yeah, I heard this guy, or I didn't have a chance to see this guy. But if you put Overshown on this top 10 list, you're watching tape. You're figuring it out. You are, and yeah, it's been limited snaps, limited reps, limited game action. But you're watching the tape, you do see an explosive everything you described in that player, and it does my heart good to see the guys and some gals sit down and know what type of player this guy really is, and he can make a huge impact. His ability to play sideline to sideline, play downhill, play as a blitzer. When they have to put him in some coverage stuff, he seems very comfortable doing that. Kind of a complete linebacker, and that's something that this team desperately needs. It needs somebody. Now, your hope is that a guy like Maris Leofau, who has some of these similar traits. Maybe he's not the sideline to sideline player that Overshown is, but the coverage aspect, being around the football, he creates turnovers. Those are some really positive things. That's your hope that maybe that Maris Leofau can show some of the traits that Overshown has. But I again, I am very it does my heart well to see that some guys and gals are actually watching tape and put a player where he absolutely deserves to be.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. He's an absolute fan favorite. Like I said, a total joy to watch, and he just flies around. And the
Yeah.
the the explosiveness, the athleticism, the instincts, like all of it jumps off the screen. And so you don't have a guy like that. Like
No.
Leofau can blitz pretty
S
nicely,
some traits. Yeah,
you
the
know.
traits. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's a unique athlete in Overshown that you just can't duplicate. Whether you're Leofau or Sanborn or Kenneth Murray, I'm
Yeah.
still like for me the jury's still way out on Kenneth Murray.
Sure.
That's one of my big second guess specials for this offseason here for the Cowboys. I'm excited about Sanborn. We'll see about Kenneth Murray. But yeah, getting Overshown back would be
Well,
wonderful. Still not something that's probably going to happen till later on in the season.
yeah, 2 of the lowest rated linebackers according to Pro Football Focus, both were the Tennessee linebackers. There's a side of me that wants to say that maybe scheme had something to do with that.
Absolutely.
It's if you're just looking for answers. I mean, if Murray's one of the worst ones, sure, but both linebackers, 2 of the lowest rated guys, hmm, 2 starters, I don't know. Maybe something to do with maybe something to do a little bit with the scheme or putting these guys in position. Not using it as an excuse, but it's something we need to investigate for sure.
We were talking about Tyler Smith earlier, and of
Mhm.
course, the numbers keep going up on the offensive line. He got ranked as the number 2 interior offensive lineman in the NFL. That was also a little bit surprising to me because I don't think Tyler Smith had a huge, unbelievable year last year. We know how good he is. I think he's absolutely a top 10 interior offensive lineman, but they give him the respect of number 2. So when you talk about guys maybe trying to approach the Joneses for maybe
Mhm.
more of a team friendly deal just to get a deal done, Tyler Smith and his agent ain't no way they're doing that.
No, and, that's, the Cowboys have in the past shown that their willingness to pay their offensive linemen. If you go back to Tyron Smith back in the day, they paid Zach Martin, as we just talked about. They paid Travis Frederick back in the day. They've found ways to Terrence Steele, and Terrence Steele got money when we were all kind of like, why would you do that? But they paid. So they kind of a soft spot for them is those offensive linemen, and I wouldn't be surprised if, now that we're starting to see a contract or 2 being done that way, that maybe the Cowboys say, "Well, let's try and get ahead of this one if we can." But as I said earlier, agents have no hurry or no reason to hurry to get a deal done because the Cowboys, they know if you could carry them all the way to the deadline, you'll probably get exactly what you asked for without much serious negotiations at all.
Yeah, and I do think this is the position group that they have the most respect for in terms
They
of
do.
understanding when it comes to team building, you got to have an offensive line that's the real
Yeah.
deal. But the Tyron Smith deal was pretty team friendly, was it
Yeah, it
not?
was. Sure was. It is they took advantage of a young player that I felt like needed the money. You know, some of these players, if they're in a situation where they're like, listen, yeah, is it going to look bad if I sign and don't get the max out of it? You know, there are people that are mad at Oso Digizua, feel like, oh, he could have got more than that. Well, maybe Oso Odigizua didn't want more than that. Maybe he wanted the money right now. Maybe he wanted the signing bonus. Maybe he was comfortable with all that. You know, sometimes you have to get with, you get with a player that's thinking about his family, thinking about future, thinking about getting that money right now and putting it away and letting it grow or do whatever he has to do. But the Cowboys are really good when the agent is motivated to do a deal. But they've run across some agents that haven't been very motivated here lately, and I think that's in a way, I think that's really kind of pissed Stephen Jones off. You know, and I just know his reaction from the owners meeting that day when they asked us, "I'm not taking any more questions about this." You know, I think there's a level of he knows that they messed up, but he also knows that agents have no hurry to deal with them.
Yeah, yeah, they're gonna have to do something drastic when it comes
Yeah.
to one of these contracts at some point to like
Mhm.
reset things a little bit because the way they've handled business over the last few years, like you said, there's no reason for these agents, especially for the top of the market guys, um, like a Tyler Smith is going to be like CD Lamb was. He was kind of right up there. Dak, of course, and now Micah. Like there's no reason to go and try and we just really want to get a deal done. We'll just take whatever. Osa was a situation like that. He was willing to do that, but the top tier guys are not going to be
No,
living in that
no.
world.
No, and
Uh,
it's just the way it is. It's just the way that it's history has now painted the Cowboys in a very poor light when it comes to these negotiations. And I think these guys seriously want to negotiate. I just don't think that agents are allowing them to. They're just saying, "Okay, fine. You know, we'll just carry this thing as far as we can, and then when it comes to the point where it needs to get done." And Jerry even said, deadlines make deals. But what happens every time deadlines make deals, it turns into one of the more expensive contracts in the league. It's there's no real negotiations here with the Cowboys.
Okay, and finally, the wide receiver list came out today. CD Lamb comes in at number 4. You had Jamar
Mhm,
Chase at 1, the Bengals. Justin Jefferson at 2 with the Vikings. Still Tyreek Hill getting a lot of love even after a
mm,
big time down year in Miami last year at 3. And then CD Lamb, according to coaches and scouts and executives across the league, say he's the 4th best wide receiver in the league. NFL personnel evaluators saying excellent out of the slot, easy mover,
mm.
can sink and bend, very good after the catch, excellent ball carrier vision. We know what type of stud CD Lamb is, and he comes in at number 4 here. So I am still just so excited about the prospects of him and George Pickens together. I think we got maybe a Pickens question here in the mailbag, so we'll address it a little bit more. But I cannot wait to get out there and see how they're using Lamb and Pickens together, and just the type of predicaments that it puts defenses in. Man, it's going to be epic.
Yeah, I think to me that's one of the things that I'm gonna try and focus on the most is, how is this head coach and coordinator going to use the players that they have? We've talked about pin and pulls. We've talked about, run up the field and hook. We've talked about all these different things that we don't want to see. Now, pin and pull is something we want to see, but run up the field and hook and slants and things like that, yeah, it's part of the offense. But and I don't even want to say creativity. I just want to say, and you and I've had this conversation before. How can I get my best players on your worst players? That's what I want. That's what I want to see. I want to see, like, week one, figure out how to get your best players on their worst players. Determine, and whether you're right or wrong, determine who the guys are that can't do the job and that they're trying to hide. And that's what I want. I don't. I'm tired of like watching tape myself and saying this guy's going to struggle if you do this. This guy's going to struggle if you do that. And then I watched the game film the following Monday, and I'm like, they didn't try one damn time to do anything against this guy.
Yeah.
They didn't try and run the ball at a guy who can't play the run. They didn't try and take advantage of a corner that can't cover. They didn't put their best guy on their worst corner. And I hate that. And I'm going to be really interested to see how Brian Schottenheimer and the staff navigate that because they need to get Pickens and Lamb and Ferguson. They need to get these backs going too. They're handing the ball or throwing the ball, but take advantage of. And there's a lot of good opponents, so there's probably not a lot of bad players, but you could find one or two on a defense or offense to take advantage of. I do it every week. Like the right guard's not good, the left tackle's not good, this left corner's not good. They have a safety they can't cover. That's what pro scouting. That's what you do. That's what you evaluate, and you find those weaknesses, and you tell your coaches, "Hey, when you watch the film, watch how many times they attack this corner." And if you go out there and you don't do that, then I have no sympathy for you at all, and I'll call you out for it. But my hope is that Brian Schottenheimer has kind of learned and seen the mistakes that Mike McCarthy made along the way. And Mike McCarthy did some good things too, don't get me wrong. But the mistakes that Mike McCarthy made along the way in game planning, maybe Brian Schottenheimer could turn that around.
Yeah, I don't think the Cowboys have had a difference maker from an offensive coordinator standpoint in a long time when it comes to finding the right matchups and just setting up your players for success. It's always just
Yeah.
been, hey man, go beat that guy and we'll see what
Yeah.
happens. It's like, no,
Yeah.
let's do what we can from a coaching staff standpoint to set these guys up for great success. That's the difference between just a coach and a great coach. All right, let's get to the mailbag. You're listening to the Love of the Star podcast. Love of the Star is an Odyssey podcast. You can find it on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Dean Julia mailbag time brought us, and we start with Dean Julia himself
Mm.
asking about the red zone for the
Mhm.
Cowboys. Red zone has been a problem for the offense the past few seasons. What changes would you like to see Clayton Adams and Shoddy try to focus on to improve this year? One thing I will point out, last year, Cooper Rush led the league with the most inaccurate passes in the red zone. All incompletions. It was like 56% of the incompletions in the red zone last year were because Cooper Rush was just simply inaccurate. And he was the worst in the league at that. So just simply having Dak back is going to help things quite a bit. But we've seen the red zone offense go up and down even with Dak over the years. So when you think about Cowboys red zone offense, what needs to be the priority here?
Well, they're going to help themselves with the inside three running the football. That I believe they have to be better as
Amen.
point. They have to be better as point of attack blockers on the edges. That comes with the tight ends. If that means that Spanford is in more than Schoonmaker or whoever the best blocking tight ends are, and how they work with the tackles, you have George Pickens, who is a bad ball catcher. So he knows how to find space in the back of the end zone. We've seen him several times with the Steelers. His ability to go get the football. You can run him. We saw him last year. Well, actually, say last year. I saw him this some of the OTA practice, mini camp practice that I got to go watch. They were running a drill where they had Lamb inside, and he was doing all the inside stuff, and Pickens was doing all the stuff at the back pylon. So it was Lamb inside, back pylon Pickens, ball going up, Pickens going to get it. But it's really going to start with how good are they with Booker, BB, and Smith inside? Can they find ways to control the inside part of a defense in order to allow the creases and the gaps and the ability to run the football there? But it's I've kind of always wished, oh, let's see, get Fergie involved like they did with Jason Witten. That hasn't materialized at all. Maybe Schottenheimer's a little different here. We'll see. But a lot of it, I think, is going to be focused on the inside three, offensive linemen, and then what you do with Lamb and Pickens. One inside, one outside appears how they're going to attack this thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it starts with the run game. If you can run the ball in the red zone, that helps a ton.
Huge advantage if you could do that. Yeah.
So it's going to start there for sure. I think you see a lot of teams having red zone advantages these days with a quarterback who's willing to run. I don't think we're going to have that type of
Mhm.
luxury. We'll see. Maybe Dak surprises us, but that is always a nice advantage when your quarterback is a threat to run as well. So I think it starts with the run game, 100%. The Pickens factor, I think, is huge. I mean, that's going to help in the red zone a ton. Like pick your poison, Pickens and Lamb there. And then like guys like Jake Ferguson should be the beneficiary of a lot of coverage going those guys' way. And then like when it comes to the passing attack, like all those different, the bunch formations and stuff, the rub routes, you just need
Mhm.
to create just a tiny moment of separation here to squeeze one in. Dak being accurate is going to be important for sure, but stretching the field horizontally, obviously things start to get condensed
Mhm.
on you
Mhm.
vertically. So what can you do to challenge and stretch the defense horizontally? You see guys like Shanahan and McVay and Andy Reid over the years doing very creative things from that standpoint. And it can be condensed formations, it can be the bunch formations, creating just a split second of separation.
Yeah.
I think goes a long way when you're down there. So hopefully
Yeah.
that's something that they're trying to do.
Yeah, the we've seen the combination routes. You mentioned the bunch, the motion in and out, the
Mhm.
ability to get explosive out of that, the ability to run picks. Seems like the league is not calling as many pass interference penalties on pick routes anymore. So
Yes.
anything you could do to take advantage of getting guys thrown off, you need to take advantage of that for sure.
Yeah, and I would like to see them use. I mean, I'm a big advocate for Turpin having a nice little role in this offense, but
Mhm.
when you start talking about, hey, this is short yardage stuff. This is
Mm,
20 yards max.
mm,
Get a guy with great speed and let him
mm.
go get something going there on the edges.
Yeah.
Quick pass, boom, outside. But you mentioned the pick routes, the rub routes, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff is hugely important. And I think the Cowboys have done a poor job over the years
Yes.
in that regard. So
I agree.
so yeah. So you're gonna wanna see, a lot of that when it comes to red zone stuff. Alright,
Mhm.
continuing here, Dean Julia mailbag. Let's see, let's talk about Scooney because we got a couple of
Mm.
questions about him. What would you consider a successful season? And a couple people asking, like, is Scooney a threat to maybe not make this team, a guy who's
Yeah.
going into year 3 as a second round pick at tight end?
Yeah, I know you and I, again, on our show yesterday, I said, and I didn't get to Scooney. He was one of the guys I was gonna get to. I had that if you wanna go back and listen on our Odyssey app, we talked about guys we might say goodbye to, and Schoonmaker was a guy I didn't get to. I'll be interested because of how I know he'll compete. I know he can catch the ball. There's been a lot of love for Spanford, a lot of love for Spanford. We'll see with the others though. We'll see what happens, with some of these other tight ends, whether it's, Fairweather is a guy that the kid from Auburn is a lot of people have been talking about him. Princeton Fant, is he more like Hunter Lipke or is he really kind of a tight end? When you're talking about those guys. John Stevens is a guy that 2 years ago was wowing everybody at camp until he hurt his knee and then hurt his knee again. Is this, the final is he at the crossroads? So I think Luke Schoonmaker right now is probably somewhere between 2 and 4 on that list, depending on what you want to do or how you want to evaluate. But this is a very much a crossroads moment for him, a crossroads camp. And we'll see. Does Spanford and others push him? And does somebody who we're looking at as the fourth or fifth tight end right now completely take him out of the mix?
Okay, great question here as it pertains to the run game. Chris Hodnett asking Broadus,
Mhm.
uh, in terms of the importance of building a good rushing attack,
Sure.
how do you power rank uh, like the runner, the offensive line, the O line, coach, and scheme? So we'll narrow it down to
That's
those three,
good.
like
That's a good
coach,
that's a
scheme, offensive line, and runner.
I'm gonna do this. I think the coaching scheme is really important. I think it really is important. I think the ability to be able to create leverage create angles, to have the ability to say, okay, if they stop us here, we can do this, the ability to adjust. I think that's super important. I I think the blockers are important. I think the runner is really important. And I'll say this, scheme, but the runner, if the runner has the ability to make people miss, if the runner is explosive, if the runner has power. Now, we didn't so much see it when Saquon Barkley was with the Giants, but you did see it when he was with the the Eagles. And so I put a lot of stock in the runner. That's just the old scout guy in me. The line is super, super, super important though. If they're playing 5 playing as 1, that's a hard group to beat. We saw it again with the Eagles last year. They do. Jeff Southland, the line coach, does a hell of a job. They've got talented guys. They've got some big, powerful guys. They got, Lane Johnson's kind of a lighter guy as a tackle, but they make it work. And I think it's super important. But they have a back that even if the line is not perfect, a back can go a long way of making up for some poor offensive line play. So I'll go coaches, back, and line is what I'll
Mm,
say.
interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think that you've seen it work in different ways. I think
Yeah,
the Niners are interesting because they don't always have great offensive linemen, but
right.
the scheme is dialed. And then they oftentimes have a pretty impressive back, especially over the last few years when you talk about
Right.
Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
So where it's like, okay, you have Trent Williams, who's a bona fide stud, and then the other four are kind of just okay dudes,
Yeah.
but the scheme and their ability to work in unison, creating angles, and then you put a great back there. So I think if you
Mhm.
have two of the three,
Yeah.
two of the three can really get it done. I think I would lean I think I would like I think I would lean coach and scheme, then offensive line,
Sure. I knew you would. Yeah.
then probably runner, but
Yeah.
it's
Also,
tough there with those first two.
Ashton Genty will make the Raiders running game much better next year. He
Agreed.
will.
Agreed.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Bijan Robinson the makes the Atlanta Falcon running game better. James Conner made Arizona and their quarterback too helps,
mhm.
but makes the running game better. I don't I can't disagree with you. I just know if I have a good line, but a back that doesn't hit the hole well, it doesn't play with explosiveness, and doesn't make people miss, it could be a struggle. It could be an
Yeah.
absolute struggle, but the line's important. But I will say this: coaching and scheme is the most important thing to me. That's the
Yeah.
most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. It's tough. That's a great question. And I don't think there's
That is
100%
a great
right.
question. That is a
Yeah.
great question. It really is.
And then a couple people are just curious here, Broadus. We'll close it down with this one here in the mailbag. Just an underrated storyline going into training camp for you. That's something that's maybe not getting talked about that much, but you're very interested in. I was maybe thinking about the
Mm,
safeties,
mm.
um, because we talk about the secondary, but I think we're really thinking about the corners. The safety stuff, we're thinking about Hooker and Wilson, but I'm excited if Marquise Bell and or Wanye Thomas can do something special there in the back end. I know they got that undrafted guy from Syracuse that they like quite a bit as well, and maybe he can be somebody that
Clark, yeah, Elijah Clark, yeah.
yeah, Elijah Clark. So
Mhm.
maybe he's somebody that can do something there. And I still think nobody is talking enough about the defensive tackle stuff with Mozzie Smith and Jay Toya and that thing. So that's kind of where I go with it. And then the a third one for me would just be, man, could Phil Maffa be a seventh round rookie running back that surprises people?
Yeah, I think we're not talking enough about Blue as a runner, and I've said this earlier. I He's the most explosive player you got. If he shows any type of ability for blitz pickup and toughness and squareness and being able to know where he's supposed to be and who he's supposed to block, he should be your starting running back. He should be your starting running back. That's just,
Yeah.
and they're going to try. But I like what you're saying about Maffa because if it turns into a gap scheme, I think Blue can run inside. I do, but I think his ability, like I said, his ability to make people miss, his toughness, his explosiveness, his ability to catch the ball. That's something I'd love to see. If I see all those things, I'm going to start him. Another thing I'm very interested in is the third wide receiver. I'm interested to see if Brooks steps up, Flournoy steps up, Tolbert, one of those guys step up. How does that
Mingo.
yeah, Mingo, how does that going to work? Because that's going to be a pretty important position in this offense. I think Mingo has an advantage because of his size and his toughness, and they feel like they probably can use him more at the point of attack if they do want to run the football. But who emerges from that group will be very key for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because with Mingo's the guy I'm rooting for
Mhm.
because I know what he can do as a blocker and I know
Mm.
how important he could be to the
Yeah.
run game. But I
Mhm.
also know that if he is no threat to catch the ball,
Yeah.
then it's an easy tell if he's on the field that you want to run the ball.
It's
He's
like
the
Noah
guy that
Brown. It's like Noah Brown used to be that way, remember? Yeah.
Yes,
Mm,
yes. So if he can flash in the passing game, all
mm.
of a sudden now he's a guy that when he's on the field, you're going, okay, I don't know if they're going to run the ball, but I know he's capable
Yeah.
of cracking down and
Yeah.
stopping a linebacker or somebody that way, helping you in the run game. But not being an obvious tell that it's a run just because he's on the field. So I
Right.
think he could be a real difference maker if he can show the type of promise he had coming out of college. So
Right.
all right. Well, there it is. Love of the Star, another one in the books as we are just a few days away from training camp in Oxnard, California. Remember to hit that survey there in the podcast description, and you'll go ahead and get 50% off all Love of the Star merchandise. Broadus, you're the man. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
And
Eric. Appreciate that.
we'll be back with more wall to wall Cowboy coverage here in the coming days.